if you look at the, we've done a lot of research on the 100 hours and what's happened, and as the Democrats took over with the new Congress that been passed. But the question is, I'll say this to you. The three big questions are, the first is, will any of this happen? And then what happens when it doesn't? There's the House, which has rules which enable the majority, if the majority of parties unite, they can pass things. Now, I remember when Clinton was in, and we would have anything that the Congress, the Democrats were so divided. We started by assuming 25 Democrats in the South would vote, against us. We could easily be 50 Democrats on an issue. If you look at the issues that passed the Congress, sometimes 0, sometimes 1, at most 2 Democrats voted, the other against the leadership issue. And so right now, Democrats are incredibly united and voting as a bloc, and therefore they're able to pass things in the House, and they, have passed real things, in a short period of time. The problem is the Senate, where the Democrats have the majority, but some people want, but even if they were bigger. You have rules that make it possible for a minority to stop things. And I don't know whether a RAC resolution of whatever form will get a vote. If there's a filibuster, I don't know if minimum wage. I think minimum wage will ultimately pass because the Republicans don't want a vote in which they are blocking the minimum wage increase. The most popular thing in the country is changing the Medicare rules. That's part of the government negotiated lower drug prices. It's the most popular change that the Democrats have passed. It's already dead in the Senate. Now, I know that it's the Republicans who are blocking it, but the country doesn't. And when Clinton was president and presented his economic plan, the first part of his economic plan in 1993 was a stimulus package. Our plan was to have a stimulus package and do some quick things to try to create jobs, while we passed a long-term package that dealt with deficits and other things. It was filibustered in the Senate by Bob Dole, killed the stimulus package, and the voters blamed us, the Democrats, and blamed Bill Clinton. Okay? If they think you're in power, they think it is your job to figure out how to get it done. They don't, and so it is not given that if this turns to gridlock, it is not given that voters will say it's the Republicans are doing it. It is, before this election, it was a pox on both your houses. Both parties were low in esteem. Since the election, Democrats have gone way up. Okay? But this can easily, very quickly, become gridlock. They're all the same. They're not thinking the national interest. Partisan bickering battle, not thinking the national interest. I would not rule out third-party candidates. Indeed, this feels like 1992, when Ross Perot got 19% of the vote. I think there's room for a business anti-party, candidate, independent candidate. I think there's room for an anti-immigration candidate. There are lots of space for third-party candidates. Rob Nader's talking about running. If Democrats are strong enough on the Iraq War, don't rule out there being Iraq peace candidates that run. If we end up in gridlock, do not rule out political fragmentation. 70% of the country think punches on the wrong track. If we end up with gridlock, do not presume that right now people are hopeful. 6 months, 9 months from now, we can have a country that's as angry at the Democrats as they were at the Republicans. Not the same, won't be the same, but it will be more that they're all the same. And it's an angry country. And angry countries produce, strange problems. Whether the second issue is whether Democrats step up to the big problems. All the evidence is right now is impressive on this. To me, the most important thing is what's happening on global warming economy. The Congress has not done anything on this. The President has acknowledged it. But one of the first things that Nancy Pelosi did was to create a committee that circumvented the various committees, including the Michigan members who control committees that block legislation on climate change. But it was created a super committee that circumvented the committees, and they've created a parallel committee on the Senate side. I don't know if they'll do it, but it does say if you believe that parties gain national ascendancy when they are the relevant party when the country faces big problems, climate change is one big example of addressing, issues. The others include healthcare and income inequality, and there's a number of others. But the question is, do Democrats? The Congress will be the battleground, but it will very quickly be the presidential candidates. Do they see scale of the problems? Are they offering the scale of solutions that say the Democrats are the party that you need to turn to, to lead? And the third is whether the candidates themselves, the specific presidential candidates, rise to it. Are they, or do they gain? The thing I'm least worried about is Democrats not having candidates of scale of quality and scale to address these issues, to step up to these challenges. I look at the field and I'm impressed with that field. I look at the Republican field and I'm unimpressed. I would rather be on the Democratic side than the Republican side. Now, I should not assume that everybody in this room is a Democrat. And I don't, and as in the work I do campaigns. At many levels. We also do the bipartisan, polling for National Public Radio and other things. Republicans, if anything, are more post-election panels that I did with Republicans. They thought we should have won 5 to 10 more seats than we did. And in fact, if you look out there are, there's 15 seats that are under 2, that Republicans won by less than 2 points. I think it's 20 seats that were under 50, so you go. This is, I'm sure you're here because of trying to understand the scale of this change. It's not just a simple election. I set my own warning to myself that I gave in '94. Don't do victory laps around the room. And as you've seen, I'm skeptical about the Democrats, and I'm worried about what happens in real life. But there are big things happening in the country that are shaping our politics, and I hope this helps you understand. Thank you.
I wonder if you could say
these advances, and given where the Republicans are now in the current Congress, what's the chance of these initiatives going through? Now, I address some of that. Most of this will be blocked. Most of this will be blocked. That's why I said there is a risk of voter alienation emerging. Now, it's really dangerous, for them to block. The minimum wage, there'll be a debate over, but it's minimum wage increase will pass, and I think the Democrats can override in this case. It will go to a joint. It'll go to a conference right now. It'll probably come out clean as a minimum wage increase. Republicans would then have to filibuster a straight minimum wage increase. I think that'll be hard for them to do. I think we'll be able to override it. The president has already said he'll sign it because he knows his veto would be overridden. So the minimum wage increase, will happen. That's the shortest thing. But the health care, actually nothing will happen in health care. They will pass give the president the authority to. The one thing that could happen is passing there's two areas. One area is Congress will probably pass allowing reimportation from Canada, blocking the president. That has enough support that you might even be able to override the president's on it. So but this is not changing healthcare. This is on the edges. There's a budgetary process in which you could get progress on some things. The highest Democratic priority is and almost all the outside groups is to fund what's called S-chip, which is the health insurance for kids, and the guarantee that all kids are to have health insurance. And the president, in principle, has accepted that. So my guess is in the budget process that they will actually substantially increase funding for health insurance for children. I think that will happen. In the other areas, Homeland, they're not going to succeed. They passed, the 9/11 Commission on inspection of containers. There's no way the administration is going to fund that. They're going to try to, resist that. They're going to be in the environmental area, it's very hard to get the president to. If you look at the president's healthcare initiatives, they're the opposite of what the Democrats are proposing. So the issue is going to be: it's possible that will pass if the Democrats decide, and the Republicans will support it. The president wants it more than anything, and business wants it as well. But a significant part of labor, wants it as well. So it's possible that you could get something on immigration. The bigger problem for Republicans, I think, is that if you look at the Bush's lack of popularity, popularity went down after he gave his speech on Iraq and the joint session speech, that they have an unpopular war, the unpopular president. So that as these battles get drawn and what the domestic priorities are, Bush is the spokesperson, and he's not going away for the next 2 years. And so these issues, I think, will get highlighted. There will be presidential candidates who will highlight it. So the Congress won't determine the whole deal. There'll be other places where it gets adjudicated. And I think the progressive issues, they won't get enacted, except I think in a small degree. You're going to need a Democratic president, for that. I say that is in part reflecting some of what I said in the question was: is the country ready for a black or woman president? Part of what I said earlier in terms of the changes that are taking place in the country that are making it possible for Democrats to win. I look at Ford's race. Ford was the candidate for Senate in Tennessee who lost. But it was a very close election in a very conservative state. And people said, the polling, we think the polling will be wrong on that. It's not really close because once people are just lying to the pollsters. I think they lie when they vote. They tell the truth. In the Tennessee race, they said, this is not really that close. And people won't tell the truth. The polls about black in Tennessee, the conservative southern state, truth to the call or the call. And again, the voting would have voted otherwise. Well, it got. I think you got 48% of the vote. You gained at the end. You did better than the polls indicated. And he said, we have evidence that people are pretty comfortable, voting for black candidates. And Obama is an interesting candidate in many ways. I'll avoid Biden's mistakes. He's culturally different than other black candidates in front. And so the polls, people are clearly comfortable with his, candidacy. And so I think that seriously. I think, Hillary, I believe she win. It has a lot of things to address as part of her run. But right now in our polls, she runs about even with John McCain in the polls. Her issues are not being women. Her issues are more complicated than that. You can imagine. But it's not being a woman that I think is holding her back. She seems a strong leader, and whatever you like. And further, like I think the campaign finance system. I'm a radical reformer. I'm for every change, every reform, and just keep doing it because before they figure out how to get around the existing reform, you should move to the next reform. But there has been, first of all, the McCain Feingold did produce important changes, and because it came in combination. And the fact is, big money directly to parties was barred by it, and when things don't happen, you don't pay much